One issue that we haven't talked about that I want to bring up now is Doug's new issue brief on employment-based immigration and recommendations for some changes that Congress could make, which would have a positive economic effect through the immigration system. So, Doug, let me just turn this over to you. And I always listen to what you say on this subject, since you wrote a very comprehensive report for the Concord Coalition in a series we did back in 2019 on economic policies for economic growth and fiscal responsibility. Doug, just kind of in a nutshell, what are your recommendations?
Well, that we be much more aggressive in the use of employment-based immigration tools, visas, and the like. And here's why. As you know, I've had this conversation before. The native-born U.S. population doesn't have a lot of babies, so we don't even have replacement-level fertility. In the absence of immigration, the U.S. shrinks, the population gets older and smaller, the economy becomes less vital. The flip side of that is that everything about America's future resides on the decisions it makes about its immigration policies. So when the immigration is an enormously important economic policy. And if you listen to the conversation about immigration right now, the first thing you hear is a huge fight about what to do at the southern border. That's a genuinely serious policy issue. It's not my area of expertise. That sucks a lot of the oxygen out of the room. Then people sometimes say, well, we need to worry about the other criteria we use for legal immigration. We have like family unification and all this asylum status and things like that. And left out of that conversation is the employment-based visa programs, which are things like the temporary visas to come in for harvesting things, the skill-based ones like H-1Bs for tech workers and the like. They're an important part of the U.S. immigration system, but we grant a small number of permanent visas on the basis of economic criteria. And I think we should beef up that idea more substantially. That was the heart of the paper I wrote for you. What I did in this latest is to just say, okay, let's look at what we've got, not imagine a huge reform where we completely rework the immigration system. That seems like a bridge too far in the current environment. What could we do? Well, we could raise the caps. We have caps on H-1Bs, for example, skilled immigrants. You could raise those caps and allow more people in. There are some people who fear that, and so you'll get some political pushback, but you could just have more skilled immigrants coming into the United States. That would help in the near term. You could also allow the spouses of people on such a visa to work. Right now, that visa gives the immigrant permission to work, but not their spouse. We could de facto get more labor supply and fill more jobs if we allowed those spouses to work. So we could do things like that, which to me would make a lot of sense and help with the near-term stresses. We could also deal with the backlogs and work the permitting faster.
The one point that I think a lot of people don't understand is that our economy can grow only as fast as the people can produce the goods and services. And so if we don't have enough people to produce goods and services, we're not going to grow. I mean, I think, too often people confuse this with the whole, the planet's overpopulated, we're producing too much crap, blah, 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 blah. But, economic growth is important. Just in terms of like global stability, so I think that, people need to be reminded again and again and again that economies only grow as fast as their population can produce the goods and services that, create wealth.
So amen to you for saying that. And I'll just sort of remind everybody of my favorite current economic problem. In the 20th century, we grew fast enough that GDP per capita average 2.4% growth per year. So that's per person, income per person, 2.4%. That means that it doubles roughly every 29 years. So that's a crude measure of the standard of living, and it doubles every 29 years. In the 21st century, from 2001 to now, it's been averaging 1.4%. If we had kept up with 2.4, there would be $19,000 per person more in the United States right now. I don't know about you, I'd take the 19,000. I think that looks good. Sign me up. And it's part of our fiscal problem as well. If we had kept that rate of growth, GDP would be higher, and tax revenue would be $1.2 trillion a year higher. We have $20 trillion in deficits over the next 10 years. $12 trillion would be useful at the moment. I'm a fan of that. So we have a growth problem, Tori. We have a very big growth problem. And I think it's time to relaunch the pro-growth policies that are fiscally responsible book and wake our policymakers up. That is our problem. Mm-hmm. We have big fiscal problems. We have a big growth problem. We need to solve them. Immigration fits in that. It is a way to do that.